The sun had barely broken through the dense gray clouds over Los Angeles County State Prison, and everything felt routine. Guards shuffled into place, doors buzzed open and shut. Inmates lined up for cow, for meds, for counts. Same as it had been the day before and the day before that. Suge Knight. He played it cool, stoic, sitting in the corner of the recce yard, sunglasses on like always, arms folded like a king, watching over what little empire he had left. He didn't talk much that morning, didn't nod to his usual circle, just waited. To most it was just another Wednesday, but for one man in that yard, time was no longer moving forward. It was winding up like a coiled spring, ready to snap. Inside the laundry facility, the heat of the machines roared. Massive dryers spun with sheets, towels, jumpsuits. Inmates pushed carts back and forth between steel tables and steam presses. Guards barely looked up. This routine was mindless, a factory of repetition, and that's exactly why it was perfect. Before we dive deeper into this unforgettable vibe, make sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon. That way you'll never miss any new coming videos like this. Now let's get back to it. At 11:43 a.m., a laundry cart left the rear of the facility, pushed by an assigned inmate porter. The cart was heavy, too heavy, and covered entirely with a soiled sheet. When a guard asked about Thuit, the inmate smirked. "Wet blankets," he said. No one questioned it. The cart rolled on. It passed two checkpoints, down one hallway, then another. It stopped briefly near a service elevator. The porter leaned against the wall, glancing side to side. Surveillance shows him tapping his foot 3 times, a signal. What no one noticed or didn't bother to was that the porter was new to that wing. Transferred only days ago, assigned to laundry after only brief interview. Clean record, quiet but connected. The cart moved again down the corridor toward maintenance. Then it vanished. It wouldn't be noticed until later that evening, not until the 400 p.m. count when the names were read when Suge Knight's number was called and no one responded. The guard said it again, louder silence. Then came the first spark of panic. The room was searched, his bunk untouched, his jumpsuit gone, his radio missing. And by the time the alarm sounded, it was already too late because the storm had already passed, and all that remained was the aftermath. The laundry system inside the prison was a forgotten rhythm. One of those daily patterns no one noticed until it broke. But Suge Knight had been watching it for months, observing, memorizing. Every Tuesday and Thursday, the carts rolled in from Seblock. Every Wednesday, the cleaning crew switched shifts yearly. And every Friday, the back potato, the industrial waste area, stayed unlocked from 10 a.m. to noon, while the maintenance inspected pipes. No one thought twice about any of it because when you've got thousands of moving pieces in a prison, it's easier to assume the machine works than to look too closely. Sue did what few ever expected. He went quiet. Over the past year, the man known for intimidation, for muscle, for barking orders fell silent. No more outbursts, no more attention. He withdrew from the yard, declined visits, even dropped his appeals. To most, he was defeated. But defeat was a mask because in reality, Suge wasn't giving up. He was preparing, and the laundry was the perfect blind spot. Inmates rotated through that unit constantly. No one stayed long enough to become suspicious. No guard stood watch inside, only one stationed near the loading door, half asleep most mornings. The carts were metal framed with canvas sides and a vinyl base enough to hold 3 stacks of sheets or one large man. Sugi knew this. He'd measured it more than once. In the weeks before the escape, small things started happening. Carts going out with miscounts. Always logged, never questioned, blankets missing, floor drains covered. But the most brilliant move, he trained someone else to do the pushing. A young inmate, first-time offender, worked laundry for 5 months straight, earned trust, no incidents. When the time came, he didn't just push the cart. He cleaned Suge's gel. He made it look like he was still inside it hours after he was gone. Guards walked past, never noticing the switch, never questioning why the light under Suge's door stayed on, never wondering why a man who always barked was suddenly sleeping so quietly. But outside that cell, the cart moved down the hallway, around the blind corners, past guards who had seen it 100 times. And each roll of the wheel was another second closer to the gate, closer to the impossible, because this wasn't a man running. This was a man executing at 4:07 p.m., the alarm blurred. The kind of sound that makes stomachs drop and pulses race. A level 3. Emergency. All movement frozen, yard locked down, units sealed, and yet no one knew why. Not yet. In the central tower, officers scrambled over radio chatter trying to pinpoint the glitch dot. Was it a fight? A weapon? Then the call came in from the clock floor sergeant. We've got an inmate unaccounted for. A pause, then a name. Suge Knight. For 2 full seconds, no one responded. It didn't make sense. Suge was always there, always visible. A shadow you couldn't miss. The sergeant repeated himself. Cell 239. Inmate not present. Suddenly the prison felt colder. A search team was dispatched immediately. The first sweep focused on his cell. Inside, nothing. No signs of a struggle, no clutter. His mattress was smooth. His histotized boots were missing, his toothbrush was gone. But the detail that made one officer stop cold was the mirror. Clean, too clean. Suge hadn't touched it in weeks. Now, it was spotless, like someone had wiped away every trace. The team split. Yard, showers, kitchen, nowhere. Then they checked the laundry on it, and that's when the real panic set in. Inmate rosters didn't match, signets were scribbled out. One cart was logged as returned, but it hadn't been seen by the incoming shift. More radios lit up. Find that cart. 30 minutes later, Agard walking the perimeter spotted Twan canvas near the service access hallway, a dead-end corridor used only for utility cleanouts. At the end of it waste the cart dumped. It looked normal at first, but the sheet over it had a tear inside. A small blood smear and underneath that scratches on the vinyl base like someone had clawed their way out. Then came the next wave of questions. If Suge was in the cart, where was he now? And how did a 6 feet 300 lb man vanish through steel doors, lockajates, and armed checkpoints without a single camera catching him? That's when they realized something even worse. 8 minutes before the alarm, every camera on the east corridor had glitched. For exactly 7 minutes and 42 seconds, the entire wing was dark. No fed, no footage, no explanation. Just now time for someone to disappear, and not just someone. Suge Knight. The east corridor had always been overlooked. Narrow, dim, mausoleous by maintenance. One flickering bulb, one rusted access gate, and now one ghost. The security team reviewed blackout. It wasn't just a glitch. It was surgical. 7 cameras. All on same internal circuit, went down imperfect sync. Not fried, not cut, just blank. The text said it was impossible. These feeds are hardwired, isolated. But digital logs told a different story. A remote ping hit the system at 3:58 p.m. within seconds. The feed looped old footage recycled from the day before. For the guards watching in real time, nothing seemed wrong. But what they were seeing had already happened. That window under 8 minutes long was all it took. Because when they pulled back up files buried deep in corrupted folders, they found one single frame the system failed to overwrite. One blurry, grainy shot, a laundry cart rolling fast. No handler, just the cart moving, and behind it a figure. Large, broad shoulders, head low, wearing an inmate jumpsuit, but no orange. Gray utility staff, gray. Someone had switched clothes, Ansimione had keys. The gate to Thekarider hadn't been forced. It wasn't locked, and the log showed it open Edwis. Once at 3:59 p.m., then again 5 minutes later. But there was more. A vehicle had been recorded on a nearby traffic cam just outside the outer perimeter. A black SUV parked illegally in a no-entry zone. It idled for 9 minutes, then drove off. No plates? No driver seen. But what was caught in one frozen frame was a shadow moving toward the vehicle. Broad-hooded, limping slightly. The same limp Suge Knight had been faking for years to avoid standing too long in court. Inside the prison, chaos rippled. Inmates were locked down. Guards were questioned, phones weir-sized. But no one knew who had helped him because this wasn't one. Man slipping out a side door, this was a symphony, atomed exit. A dozen little pieces mothered perfectly. One guard distracted, one a camera looped, one cart left waiting in shadows. And by the time Enione asked the right questions, the silence had already answered. Suge Knight was gone, and not a single soul could explain how. By 6:12 p.m., the prison was no longer a correctional facility. It was a pressure cooker. Helicopters circled overhead, sirens echoed down every hallway. The front gate was sealed like a bunker. No one in, no one out. And then came the call that made Ryan's blood run cold. A civilian worker, part of the ground sanitation team, reported. Something strange behind supply garage. A laundry cart tipped over, torn sheet, blood, and inside, wedged beneath a slab of cardboard, something that didn't belong. A state suit ID, not Suge Knight's, a corrections officer, still valid, still active. But the officer on paid medical leave, out of state. The ID had been used to scan through 2 checkpoints. No one questioned it. No one looked twice. The barcode beeped. The doors opened. That was the system. Trust the beep. Butsomion had copied it, cloned it. That was the moment the narrative shifted. This wasn't a brute force escape. This wasn't violence. This was precision, a ghost job. Every move calculated, every piece set in motion days, maybe weeks in advance. A team was formed. Not guards, not wardens, Homeland Security, marshals, feds. They started with a cart. The fibers from the torn coverware cross-checked against other carts from the same batch. One had been marked for disposal last month. Supposed to be destroyed. Instead it vanished, logged out, signed off by someone who didn't exist. A fake name, fake badge. But the signature matched a file from 1997, back when Suge still ran death row records. A former driver, same handwriting. They went deeper. Phone logs. Inmate calls, every monitored conversation pulled and analyzed. And in Noni heavily redacted transcript, a voice whispers, "Laundry folds both ways." It meant nothing until someone traced death phrase back to an old recording. Apperson mixtape recorded by inmates in 2003, a hidden lyric. Laundry folds both ways and kings don't crawl out. Their eyes with the load. Code. This wasn't an escape. It was a resurrection, a return. A man who'd ruled from thigh shadows now slipping. Through them, Anthem came the footage. Grainy, unsteady, shot from a cell phone, uploaded anonymously. It showed a black SUV parked at the edge of a freeway underpass. The trunk popped open. A man climbed out. Not fast, not in panic, but steady, strong. He looked back once, hood fell, bald head, broad neck, unmistakable frame. Suge Knight. The man-the world thought was locked in a cage for life was breathing free air. And somewhere behind the glass of a laptop screen, someone clicked upload and vanished. Because this wasn't just about breaking out. This was about showing the world that Suge Knight never really left. The video hit the internet like a thunderclap. No watermark, no caption, just 68 seconds of handheld footage, shaky and raw, but clear enough to see everything that mattered. A black Suvidling beneath a freeway overpass in Thedusk light. The trunk cracked open. Eamon in gray slowly pushing his way out from inside. Broad shoulders, heavy build, head down, then up. He pulled off hood, looked straight into the camera. It was Suge Knight. Not a lookalike, not a deep fake, not some internet prank. The man who was supposed to be locked behind concrete and steel, sealed, in a maximum security facility, was now standing on an open street walking toward the driver's side door. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He moved like a man with nothing to fear. And that's when it all turned. Because moments later, another door opened. From front passenger side, a second man stepped out. Clean-cut, dark shades, no expression. A former death row bodyguard conferred by facial recognition just hours later. He held out a burner phone. Sug took it, dialed. The camera, still rolling, picked up just one line. Macketh call, shut it down. Then the sub drove off, the video cut out. Within 2-4 minutes, the clip was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, dark forums. Even a bootleg version playing Onga station screens in South Central, the prison's internal servers were flooded. Calls poured in from LAPD, Theda's office, news anchors, and 3 different federal agencies. But here's what no one expected. At exactly 8:42 p.m., just 4 hours after Suge disappearance, 4 other prisons across California locked down simultaneously. Why? Drone sightings, security failures, and 3 confirmed escape attempts, all targeting inmates who had one thing in common. They were former affiliates of Death Row Records. The escape wasn't just about Suge, it was a signal, a coordinated move, the beginning of something larger. Back at the original prison, chaos turned to disbelief when they opened a sealed envelope left in Suge's now empty cell. No threats, no manifesto. Just a single Polaroid. It showed Suge Knight on the set of a Death Row music video from 1996, standing beside Tupac smiling. In the background, a black SUV, same make, same model, Semelicence plate sequence. That's when this wasn't just an escape. This was a message. A legacy move. Suge hadn't just disappeared. He had orchestrated a cinematic comeback. A reminder that his name didn't belong to the prison system, it belonged to the streets. To Fear, Top Hour, the king hadn't run, he had risen. 3 days after the escape, the media still hadn't caught up to the truth. They ran headlines like security breach and high-profile inmate missing, dancing around the words everyone was afraid to say. Out loud, SJ Knight escaped and no one knows where he is. The FBI issued a statement. Marshals launched a manhunt. Heat maps flooded West Coast. They'd put boots on streets, drones in skies, and agents in the places Suge once called home. All they found were echoes. A motel room in Fresno, empty, but reeking of cigar smoke. A burner phone discarded behind Alicorp store in Carson. Battery. Still warm. Surveillance footage from a Bakersfield diner. A man in a hoodie is sitting in the corner booth. Untouched steak, then gone. The streets whispered what the system refused to admit. He's not hiding, he's watching. He's moving, because that's what power does. It doesn't retreat, it repositions. In South Central, murals started going up overnight. Not graffiti, murals, clean lines, fresh paint. Suge's silhouette in front of a black SUV, red tin in the background, crown above his head. On one wall, scrolled in dripping white spray paint, were the words, "You locked them on." Not the myth. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was legend, and for the system that was more dangerous than any gun. The prison launched internal stations. 15 guards suspended, touristed. The laundry porter disappeared from protective custody. Found 3 days later in an abandoned bus lot, shaken but alive. Mouth taped shut, wrist zip tied. He didn't say much, just this. I didn't help him. I followed instructions. Instructions from who? You wouldn't say or couldn't because Suge's operation wasn't sloppy. It was tight, controlled. And here's the part that haunts people the most. The black stuff from the escape, it was recovered, parked in a private hangar at an airfield just south of the Nevada border. Clean, wiped, untouched. But beneath the driver's seat, someone left a folded envelope. Inside was a single cassette tape. No label, just one word written in red ink, return. They played it. Low hum, static, then a voice, calm, deep, unmistakable. You thought you buried me, but I was just waiting to rise. Legends don't run, they watch you burn. Then silence, click, end of tape. To this day, Suge Knight remains at large. No confirmed sightings, no official statements, just stories. A man who walked through steel walls without lifting a finger. A Namath that turned a prison into a crime scene and a state into a chessboard. He wasn't just breaking out. He was breaking through. Because when you build an empire on fear, you don't escape the system. You make the system chase you.